Okay, so Ripple just quietly published what might be the most important document in XRP's entire history, and almost nobody is talking about the real implications here. We are looking at a full institutional DeFi operating system, native lending, permissioned markets, zero knowledge privacy, all built directly into the XRP ledger at the protocol level. And when you connect it to the Messari Q4 data, the CFTC stablecoin bombshell, and what is coming at Community Day next week, yeah, this is massive. Let me break it all down. Ripple published their institutional DeFi blueprint on February 5th, and this is not your typical crypto roadmap. This is an end-to-end financial infrastructure play built around three pillars: payments and FX, collateral and liquidity, and credit markets. And here's the thing, XRP is embedded in every single layer. All right, so let us start with the big one. Ripple has essentially laid out the architecture for turning the XRP ledger into a regulated financial operating system. And I mean that literally. Three pillars here. First, payments and FX. They have got permission domains live on mainnet right now, which means institutions can create gated environments where only KYC verified counterparties can trade. RLUSD settles in 3 to 5 seconds versus the traditional 3 to 5 business days through correspondent banking. Now here is where it gets really interesting. Pillar 2 is collateral and liquidity. Multi-purpose tokens, or MPTs, can now represent bonds, money market funds, commercial paper, all with metadata like maturity dates and transfer restrictions baked directly into the token. No smart contract needed. And batch transactions enable atomic delivery versus payment workflows. That is a direct replacement for how repo markets currently function. We're talking about a $12 to $13 trillion global repo market that still relies on overnight batch processing and manual collateral management. But the real game changer, Pillar 3, the lending protocol. XLS 65 and XLS 66 introduce native on-ledger credit markets. Single asset vaults pool capital from depositors. The lending protocol enables fixed-term, uncollateralized loans with off-chain underwriting and first-loss capital protection. And right now, all 34 XRPL validators are actively voting on activation. And here is the needle in the haystack. Evernorth, which is going public on NASDAQ under ticker XRPN, with over $1 billion in gross proceeds and backing from SBI, Pantera Capital, and Ripple themselves. Their chief business officer called this a, quote, multi-billion-dollar annual yield opportunity. They are sitting on 473 million XRP ready to deploy into these vaults. That is the MicroStrategy of XRP, but instead of just holding, they are actively generating yield on-chain. Messari just dropped their State of XRP Ledger Q4 2025 report, authored by Matt Kreiser, and the headline numbers are incredible. But the deeper story is what most people are missing entirely. All right, shifting gears here. Messari's Q4 report is packed with data, so let me hit the highlights. 6 US spot XRP ETFs launched in November 2025, and they hit $1 billion in assets under management in just 4 weeks. That is the fastest since the Ethereum ETFs. 0 net outflows throughout Q4. 20 consecutive trading days of net inflows. Canary Capital alone holds 182.6 million XRP. As of late January, these ETFs collectively hold 789.8 million XRP, which is 1.3% of the circulating supply. Locked up. Now RLUSD, The stablecoin grew 164.2% quarter over quarter on XRPL to 234.9 million in market cap, and 48.8% on Ethereum to over 1 billion. Combined, that is $1.28 billion. And real-world assets on XRPL grew 37% to 281.2 million. We are talking Ondo's OUSG Treasury token, Guggenheim Digital Commercial Paper rated Prime 1 by Moody's, and Control Alt tokenizing Dubai real estate as part of a $16 billion government initiative. But here's what everyone keeps asking me about. Active addresses declined 8.2% to 49,000, while daily transactions grew 3.1% to 1.83 million. That seems contradictory, right? Actually, it is not. ETF buyers operate through custodians and OTC desks, not public addresses. 789.8 million XRP sits in cold storage, creating zero on-chain visibility. Activity is consolidating through fewer, larger institutional addresses, while automated flows like payments, RWA operations, and treasury management replace speculative retail activity. Fewer wallets, more throughput. That is actually the institutional adoption pattern you want to see. Okay, now this next section connects to something most people in crypto are completely overlooking. Treasury, which Ripple acquired for approximately $1 billion last year, just published a report exposing the hidden dangers of using generic AI tools for corporate treasury. And when you understand why Ripple bought this company, the entire strategy clicks into place. So this might seem like an odd topic for a crypto channel, but stay with me, because this is actually the missing piece of the Ripple puzzle. Treasury published this guide called The Hidden Dangers of AI-Enhanced Spreadsheets, and their argument is devastating. They are saying that CFOs who layer ChatGPT onto Excel for cash flow forecasting and treasury operations are creating a compliance time bomb. And they are right. Think about it. When an auditor asks, where did this number come from? And the answer is, a generic AI model processed it through a spreadsheet. That is not an audit trail. That is regulatory exposure. Treasury points out that Treasury operates in a high-stakes environment where the cost of inaccuracy means missed payments, liquidity shortfalls, and regulatory penalties. Remember JP Morgan's London whale? A simple Excel error, dividing by a sum instead of an average, caused $6.2 billion in losses. And that VAR model was running on manually copy-pasted spreadsheets. Now here is the connection. Ripple acquired Treasury for approximately $1 billion. Treasury has over 1,000 enterprise clients across 160 countries, including American Airlines, Goodyear, and Volvo, processing $12.5 trillion in annual payment volume. When you combine that with Hidden Road clearing $3 trillion annually and Rail handling roughly 10% of global stablecoin volume, Ripple now touches over $15.5 trillion in annual financial flows. And the play is brilliant. They enter through the door CFOs already trust, which is treasury management software, and then gradually introduce RLUSD settlement, on-chain yield through BlackRock's BIDL token, and real-time cross-border payments as additional features. The spreadsheet era is ending, and Ripple is positioning to replace it. On February 6th, the CFTC quietly reissued Staff Letter 25-40 with a revision that has enormous implications for the entire stablecoin market. And almost nobody in crypto media is covering the technical details that actually matter. Okay, so let me walk you through this because the implications are huge. The CFTC's Market Participants Division reissued Staff Letter 25-40 with one key change. The definition of payment stablecoin now explicitly includes stablecoins issued by national trust banks chartered by the OCC. The original December 8th letter accidentally excluded them with its wording of state-regulated money transmitter or trust company. Now, why does this matter? Because in December 2025, the OCC approved 5 new national trust bank charters: Circle, Ripple, Paxos, BitGo, and Fidelity Digital Assets. That means USDC, RLUSD, PYUSD, and USD $1 are all now eligible as futures commission merchant margin collateral under this revised letter. And CFTC Chairman Michael Selig stated, and I quote, "With the enactment of the Genius Act and the CFTC's new eligible collateral framework, America is the global leader in payment stablecoin innovation." The addressable market here is staggering. The U.S. derivatives market represents over $275 trillion in notional OTC contracts. Average daily futures turnover globally is $12.83 trillion. If just 1% of U.S. derivatives margin shifts to stablecoins, that is tens of billions in new stablecoin demand. And here is the strategic insight that nobody is talking about. USDT, the largest stablecoin at $176 billion, is excluded from this framework because it operates offshore outside the U.S. regulatory perimeter. Tether's response was to launch a brand new federally compliant stablecoin called USAT through Anchorage Digital Bank, with a $100 million investment announced just one day before this CFTC revision. That tells you everything about how seriously the industry is taking this regulatory shift. RLUSD, backed by Ripple's new National Trust Charter, is positioned perfectly for this institutional collateral use case. And finally, XRP Community Day 2026 kicks off on February 11th, just 4 days from now. Last year's event drew over 250,000 listeners from 50-plus countries. This year, the lineup suggests some major reveals. All right, let me bring it all together with what is coming next week. XRP Community Day 2026 is February 11th and 12th, spanning 3 live X Spaces across EMEA, Americas, and APAC time zones. And the key segment everybody should be watching is called XRP Features. What is live and what is next? Featuring Ayo Akinyele, Head of Engineering at RippleX, Jasmine Cooper, Head of Product, and Engineer Mayuka Vadari. Now here is what we know they are going to cover. Permission domains went live on February 4th with over 91% validator support. Token escrow activates on February 12th, literally during the event. And the lending protocol amendment entered validator voting on January 28th. All 34 validators are casting votes right now. Confidential transfers for multi-purpose tokens using zero-knowledge proofs are targeted for Q1, which means an announcement could come at Community Day itself. The privacy architecture uses EC-LGMAL encryption to hide transaction amounts while allowing regulators access through optional audit keys. That is exactly the selective disclosure model institutions need. And looking at the broader roadmap for 2026, permission DEX in Q2 for regulated secondary markets in stablecoins and real-world assets, smart escrows for programmable conditional settlement, MPT DEX integration so tokenized bonds and funds trade natively on the XRPL DEX, and an institutional DeFi portal as a unified interface for everything. When you zoom out, Ripple is not just building features. They are building an institutional financial stack. The Arcax partnership targets $1 billion in tokenized assets on XRPL by mid-2026. RWA tokenization surged 2,200% in 2025. Exchange reserves are at a 7-year low of 1.7 billion XRP. And the institutional DeFi blueprint we just covered ties it all together into a coherent infrastructure play that positions XRPL as the settlement layer for regulated finance. So here is the bottom line. What we are witnessing is not just another crypto roadmap. This is a coordinated infrastructure build-out that connects Ripple's $2.7 billion in acquisitions, the XRPL's protocol-level upgrades, and a regulatory environment that is finally catching up. The CFTC is enabling stablecoin collateral in derivatives markets. Ripple Treasury is bringing Fortune 500 companies onto blockchain rails, and the XRP ledger is evolving from a payments network into a full institutional financial stack. Lending, trading, settlement, compliance, all native. The question is not whether institutions will adopt blockchain finance. It is whether the market has priced in how fast it is happening on XRPL specifically. Drop a comment below. Which XRPL feature are you most excited about? The lending protocol, confidential transfers, or the permissioned DEX? I genuinely want to know what you think. If this analysis helped you see the bigger picture, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell because we are covering XRP Community Day live next week, and you do not want to miss it.